Hey guys, I'm in my car today.
Hi.
Hi.
When I first turned the video on, it was like way up close to my face. I was like, oh my God, I hope it's not like that the whole time. So thankfully, you guys don't get a close up. I am going to log on my phone real quick because I like to use my laptop on Fridays so that I can see everybody. And I use like Wi-Fi from the town. So I never really trust it completely. And you guys remember in the beginning when I would like cut out and leave and then it would shut off at 40 minutes? I don't know if you guys remember that. But anyways, how's everybody doing?
I'm loading.
Logan says hi.
Logan!
Hi, Logan.
You see me now?
We see you. How are you?
Good.
Good. What are you going to do today?
I don't know yet. Maybe the one of adventure or something.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
That sounds
like it,
perfect.
Yeah, Mom's over here. Let me show
Yeah.
you.
Mom's right there.
Let me show you.
You're trying to turn that camera onto Mom, aren't you?
Yeah,
Right.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mom doesn't like being on camera.
No, I don't.
No,
I do.
you do.
Yeah.
Parents, y'all.
Yep.
What kind of adventures do you like to go on?
Maybe go to a new world and buy a new house.
Ooh.
That sounds
fun.
cool.
Yeah.
What is behind you on the wall? Is there insects?
This is a spider right here. Spider right here.
Okay.
And this is what is this today, Mom?
Beetle.
This is beetle, and this is a fly, and this is a grasshopper.
Ooh, very cool. Do you have a favorite?
Yeah.
Which one's your favorite?
This spider right here.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay, you guys. It is 12:30. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So today I have some suggestions for some changes and some additions and some things. And we'll just see. There I am. So I just want to see what you guys all think of the changes and additions, really. I'm gonna wait for Mark to there. All right. Hey Mark. Hey Dana. Hey Gaia. James, Amanda, and Lynette we have today. All right, so we've been talking a lot about starting the kids Zoom for the show and tell. And okay, sorry guys. So we've been talking about adding the kids Zoom, and we also want to start doing like the storytelling and inviting people to come do those stories. Lynette and I were talking about that some, and I would personally really like to like narrow our meetings down to 3 times a turn, 3 times a cycle, and still have our powwows and have the quarter turn kids Zoom where they come and share their toys, share their things, or share their stories. I was talking to Dax about coming to tell stories of just things that he's done, and he really liked that because the show and tell thing wasn't really grabbing him. But telling the story of something he's done really, really intrigued him. So I really want to do that. And then we'll still have the full moon gatherings. And I was talking to James, and what he suggested is that we do our powwows with the new moon. And I really like that because it's kind of where we just come together and like, you know, I still want to have that I still want to have like an elder come sit with us and share their experience and have that in with our powwow, you know, but still kind of in the beginning of the month, bring, you know, some of our parenting vitriol, bring some of, you know, like what we did with the last powwow, how we talked about what it is that we're implementing and stuff like that. And then we get the opinion of, you know, that elder that we invite to come sit with us. So the suggestion would be to do the powwow with the new moon, have the new moon powwow, and then we'll have the quarter turn kids Zoom. And then for the full moon, we would have like a full moon gathering of everybody to come in, and we would have storytellers that we invite or they would offer. And it would either be, you know, like somebody that we invite to bring the ancient art of storytelling where, you know, they have that animism, but also be for people that we would invite to come tell their story, like just come tell their experience and like just anything that they would want to tell as their story from their own experience. So that's kind of, you know, that's what I have. James, you and I talked about so much, and like I was sitting here just trying to go over what it was that I was going to say. And there's so much more there, you know, but this is what I have that has come out. So those are the suggestions, the changes, and the additions. And I want to know what everybody thinks about them. So I guess I would just really reiterate that we would do the powwow for the new moon and have that open discussion. And I really like bringing the parenting vitriol. Like I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed how that last meeting went and how it flowed and stuff. And that was really great for me. My mom really enjoyed it. She wants to come back. I gave her all the links and stuff, but Danny, since you are here, I am going to call you out and say that I would really love to invite you and your brother as well to be one of those new moon storytellers. I feel like from your experience, you have a lot to share with us, and your brother would have some really great animated stories for the kids as well. So I wanted to put that out there for you. Just mow over that for a little bit, Danny, and Lynette has her hand up, so I'm going to call on her.
Yeah, I just want to say that I agree. I think it's a good idea what you're proposing and laying out. I think those 3 meetings would be good. I also like the idea of bringing in our experience as parents and things we're dealing with and things like that, because I feel like that's so much a part of the homeschooling journey, right? I mean, it becomes a blur at some point, like it all flows into one thing. There's not like a separate time for learning or parenting. It just becomes a thing. So I think that's a good direction to go. That's just feels right to me. So I just wanted to share that. And I also agree, Danny, I think I think you have so much to share with us, and your brother as well. I love what you've been sharing, and I think you could bring some good stuff that resonates with all of us. So that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I think that this would be also a good way to get more of the dojo members involved, for them to come in and like, I would like literally be inviting a handful of people like, hey, you want to come and share a story? So it would be bringing in new people into the perspective as well. And I think it would be a good way to get them involved, you know? As far as like planning, I feel like things are like getting set in their place almost. And like at the full moon powwows, where we bring that, we invite the elder to come sit with us and we go over everything. We really just kind of talk about the subject that the elder brings. Like the elder would bring like a subject, and then as a group, we just kind of, have a conversation back and forth with it. So this is like one of the, we're planning here, but I guess what I'm saying is that like after we kind of get these set in stone, I don't know what more planning we would have to do, I guess is what I'm thinking. Does that make sense? I feel like I just rambled a lot, you guys.
No, I think you're doing great. I really like the idea of a parent dojo scenario like that. I really like that idea a lot. I could learn so much, I think, from watching all the vitriol that comes out of that and how it's solved, because the creativity is amazing. And I would think that even that would be enough of a full moon showcase, like a place for people to gather, just for parents to exchange vitriol about success, good and bad, all that stuff. So yeah, the only thing I would want to add is that Danny, this goes for you, but it goes for anyone who's kind of invited to do something. I think the old model of teaching is that the teacher goes behind the scenes and prepares something and then comes out and presents it as if they knew it the whole time, as well as they knew it before they presented it. And it's a model, but maybe that's a stale model. And what I'm getting at is that the people that we invite to these things, I don't want them to feel like they have to prepare. That they are the ones we want just because of what they do. Someone who's a roofer, someone who knows about electricity, someone who knows about software, someone who knows about video games, whatever it is, someone knows about behavioral therapy. Just being there is enough. Just being there and just say what do you do, what do you find challenging, what do you like about what you do, what you don't like about what you do is great. So the people that we invite, I don't want you to feel pressure. I mean, I like a little bit of pressure because the vitriol is healthy, but this is not like the old model where it's like you have to come in polished. I'd rather you come in just authentic, and just be yourself. And really what you're giving is just that time during that full moon, just that day, just that afternoon, whenever it is, just to come in and give a 2-minute talk, a 15-minute talk, whatever feels comfortable. Just let it flow. It's like, I suggested to Anna that it's kind of like karaoke. It's like we're inviting each other just to spontaneously go up on stage and give us their tone, that kind of thing. I want it to be very authentic and spontaneous, I guess. Like that would be my contribution to what all's being said here. So that's all I got. Thanks.
I appreciate that. That's kind of how I like to approach things in general as well, is just flowing from the moment. I told you I had that local group here kind of invite me to speak, and there was kind of a theme and everything, but I ended up just kind of going there and just speaking from the heart, and they were asking questions, and it went all right, but yeah, just the point there. It's also this. So for my own vitriol, like you're saying, it is vitriol to kind of do some of that planning, especially for me. And I think in part because I've kind of gone so much the other way from the Babylonian indoctrination systems that I have neglected my ability to like plan and to it's more that right brain kind of stuff. And it's not to say that I'm not capable, because I am, but I just have in general neglected those abilities. So I'm also open to trying to put stuff together, or whatever, whatever works with my feelings, my with what I got going, that kind of thing. So appreciate it. Yeah.
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 We would
Well,
want it to just be like a, go ahead, Danny, sorry.
Well, I figured I could also speak to the request, and I can definitely speak. I could talk to my brother about it. He would maybe be open. I just know he's often busier than I am. He's does a million things, right? So he's like a beekeeper, and he does the garden classes, and he does landscaping, and he sells plants, and so he just stays very busy. But I guess you saw the YouTube videos of him telling those stories that he made up those stories for kids, and it's kind of to get them interested in gardening and helping them understand natural principles and things like that. And so he could recite those, or I guess and maybe we could expand upon what exactly the story time would be like. I'm just trying to imagine. I mean, is it just us or people, older figures reading stories to kids? I don't know. I just don't have a vision of what we're.
I think 5 minutes on what it's like to be a beekeeper would be amazing. I'm just saying, like, that is so like right the heck on, Well, like it. What I'm getting at is I'm under the impression that most people that we're going to invite are under the impression that we're asking them to have this superpower and to bring that superhero power on this day and make heaven and earth separate. And no, that what you do in life is fascinating, and that whatever you find fascinating is probably going to be what someone else finds fascinating. Is I've noticed that that's almost always the case. It's someone else's passion that we find so attractive, right? To watch why would you have a passion about bees, right? Why would you have a passion about dogs? That those things are simple enough to where they're effective. Just my take, though. I mean, but it's a nice, easy way to bridge people, like ramp people up into this idea without them being like kind of freaked out about it, And the time commitment. I don't want people to overcommit and to think this has to kill them, because it doesn't. This is a new model. It's a different way of doing things. So
I'm definitely happy to share about dogs. That's something I need to get better as well at that. Yeah, because I'm what I'm doing with my work is more I don't know if it's even a right brain, left brain kind of thing, but it seems more right brain. And it's kind of like with a language, it's like, the intuitive knowing and speaking of that language is different than trying to teach someone a language. And so it's similar with the dogs, where I do have a knowledge base to kind of give the teaching side of the dog work. But it's just, anyways, that's something that I can work on, something that I can practice, and I'm happy to share. And I could probably talk a long time about dogs in different ways. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I would want it to be not something that, you would have to work on, because you're already working on it. You do it every day on a daily basis, And instead of being like an invitation for you to come at this time, it would be, and not like sitting reading a story. I guess story time is like a funny word for it. But like I still definitely want to invite some people who just like your brother did on his YouTube, have that animated story. And like if kids were there, they could ask questions and be inquisitive and get them involved. But it would be like we're gathering from on in like a time slot. We're all going to be there during this time. And like, if you had that invitation, you could come and take some of that time to share your story right from the heart, right in the moment, no preparation. We just come and hang out, and we can have, you know, all kinds of different people telling their story. Or even if somebody is like, all right, I'll jump in and tell a story, you know? I feel like once one person gets it going, it'll just flow, you know? But so the way that like it would be is it would be set up as a just that full moon gathering, and then there would be like a random handful of people that have gotten an invitation. Or I've also been thinking about just saying like, I have an empty cup, would you like to fill it this month with your story? You know, put your name in there, or something almost more open, but I still also want to invite. So like, we'll have that empty cup. If you want to fill it with your story, I would love that. But Danny, I would like to invite you to share from your heart. Does that make more sense, saying it that way? Lynette, sorry about that, dear. Go for it.
No, that's okay. Let me lower this. Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, this is all feels good to me. I like this idea of like these little glimpses into like who we all are, right? Like these little bursts of like where we are at the moment, because we're ever changing, right? And our interests and where we feel in our hearts and stuff. And I think what would be kind of interesting is if the person that we invite or the person that we have, we just kind of put out there like a question for us, like a little glimpse of who they are and what they're speaking about, right? Like a prompt, like let's prompt us for who's to speak. So if it's Danny, it's, you know, if he wants to do something about dogs, let's prompt our viewer with what the subject is, but just go into a flow of what evolves from that prompt. You know, I think that just feels right. I feel like it is a lot of pressure to put on someone to say, prepare and tell us all about you, and we're all just going to sit here and listen. I like how last week, you know, your mother spoke and it was about public school. And for a while there, I was beating myself up like, man, why didn't we really take advantage of her experience? But I think what was also beautiful about that is we kind of just organically took it where we did, right? And all of us as a collective went kind of in a different direction. And I think that's okay. And I think we need to be okay with that flow and just kind of see where things go, because we're all, I don't know. It's just a fascinating approach, and I like where it's going. And I think maybe this prompt type thing might be something we could utilize. I don't know.
Yes, I like that. And really, my mother loved it. She loved not preparing. She loved not being the presenter and not having, you know, it wasn't taxing for her at all. It was fun. She wants to come back and talk with us. And I do like that idea of just having that first, the prompt, almost like an opening subject, and then just let it go. You know, like if somebody is willing to be, if somebody is like willing to be that the first story or the first person to share from their heart, you know, we can set it as that subject and then just let it go. And it would be like a larger time block than these meetings, you know, like the powwow would be, and also something that just popped into my mind is that, what do you guys think of doing the new moon powwow or the full moon gathering in the evening? I know that Joe Mega said that the evenings are not good for him, but me personally, for work, it's going to get really busy for me because it's the summer season, and I feel like we're all going to be busy this summer season. So I would really like to do some things in the evening. But yeah, so like our new moon powwow would just be like, we meet at that time for that hour. But did I say that right? Yeah, the new moon powwow. And then the full moon would be more like maybe like a 2 to 3 hour time block, where it could be like we're meeting between this and this time, and you know, like this person is going to come share their story. Come hang out and share your story if you have something that resonates or something like that. You know what I mean? All right, I'm gonna stop babbling. James, you're next.
You're not babbling at all, and you're doing great, and the confidence is building, and yeah, don't worry about it. This is great. I just have some suggestions that I think would make people more comfortable. One of which is the don't put people on the hook except for a certain amount of time. They automatically feel better if it's like, okay, it's gonna be this time. And so as a suggestion, the full moon gathering, if it's at night or even if it's during the afternoon, it's sort of like a good Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening kind of a thing. Just a thought, but that gathering could itself be an event that maybe is 4 hours long, the entire event, just starting out, starting small. Let's say it's 4 hours long, but inside that event there are 2 tents. One of those tents is a homeschool vitriol dojo meeting, right? Which is maybe that's a little bit more open-ended, and it's slotted for an hour and a half inside a tent, meaning inside a Zoom room at 4 o'clock, whatever, right? Between 4 and 5:30, we're having a homeschool vitriol, homeschool dojo, whatever, and it's to talk about what we talked about. But then we also have storyteller hour, which starts at X time, whether it be 2 p.m. or 7 p.m., whatever. And that is the time where we've allocated different time slots where people are basically doing a karaoke type thing where they're just practicing the art of getting up and just telling people. And we're giving them themes, we're asking them prompts to do things, no different than a karaoke book. I'm not kidding about the karaoke thing. It's no different. The karaoke, there's like song suggestions, right? Imagine how hard it would be to convince someone to get up and sing a song when there's no words, right? It's that kind of thing. And so I think that's all you really have to do. All we really have to do is just make the tents, which are the time slots, and make the general theme, kind of like what Lynette was saying. And I think we're great. I think do that. And people will show up and we'll either decide 4 hours was too long or 4 hours is nowhere near long enough, right? And it'll just organically kind of grow from there. So I would say keep the commitment that we want to ask of people as easy and as predictable and as seeable as possible. And you will get more from them as a result of that, I think. And I love where this is all going. I have my hand up because I want to do a little show and tell, but I don't have to do that now. In fact, I'm happy to keep talking about this, but maybe if you could give me about 10 minutes, I'd like to show you what I've been working on at some point. We could do that now, but I'm happy to keep talking about this too, because this is also helpful also. So
oh yes,
that's all I'll say.
I think we all want to see that presentation so bad. Lynette, you go ahead, and then James, go for it, because I want to see this.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, for myself, I mean, I think we're all in agreement to go ahead and go with that kind of prompt type situation to where we then speak from our hearts with our storytelling. But I feel like, you know, for me personally, if I have to prepare something, I fall back into this old way of me where it's the fake version, right? This walled version, and so prepared and so mechanical, right? Because I was a performer for so long and had this alter ego, right? I tend to fall back into that if I'm not put on the spot to act authentically. And I think a lot of us do that. I think that's why I feel really good about this type of prompting situation, is it allows us to really see into the person's true being, right? When you're just kind of forced to present yourself on the spot like that. And I think there's something very, very good about that, and that authenticity that comes out when we're put in those type of situations. So I think the more we can get into these situations without too much thought or too long of a process before these invitations go out to these people we bring in, I think it'd be kind of cool if we can more or less kind of put people on the spot, but that's not the nice way to say it, but just kind of like, all right, today, Danny, we want to invite you, you know, like we want to ask you some questions, and maybe we could do something along that line too. I don't know. Just for me, because I know I tend to fall into like, okay, you know, put on your game face and who are you going to be? And so that, I don't know, that kind of works for me.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I really do love the idea of putting people on the spot. Like just having whoever shows up, we can ask them if they'd like to share with us. But I also feel like I do like the idea of putting the invitation out there right beforehand too. So you don't have that time to stew about it and try to get in some mode or anything like that. Of letting it flow. And I really see like after one, everybody's going to have, you know, there's going to be the people that resonate with a story, and it's just going to keep on going. So, and James has something pretty awesome to share.
Thank you.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, it was breaking up, Anna, for me. I don't know if can you guys hear me? Because if not, okay. Great stuff, by the way. And I told myself I wasn't going to apologize. Sorry, I haven't been here. I've really been here in spirit. Also, Lynette, I've been wanting to talk with you specifically because you emailed me about Digital Growth asking how you could post more. I just want you to know I've not forgotten about that. It's been all kind of wrapped up in this, what I'm about to show you. And honestly, I love hearing what you just said, because I've been having this dream. I've been talking to Melanie. How freaking cool would it be if Lynette was like doing these little like check-ins like throughout? If you just felt inspired, if you were just to turn on your phone, especially in that space you have, it would just be amazing. So I just want you to know, those are the things that I dream about happening very, very soon, in whatever capacity we can. In the meantime, I've been working on the Unity 3D engine, which is a platform that is for video games, but a platform for video games is actually a YouTube in hiding. It is a social networking ability to communicate with people without a censorship. And the reason why I don't think censorship is a problem is because a video game allows you to have peer-to-peer conversations, meaning that our audio or our voice isn't necessarily, or even our text isn't necessarily routed through a central hub, that Lynette is sending a conversation directly to me, and it's not going through Facebook's server, right? It's going through the video game peer-to-peer, literally peer-to-peer. It means IP to IP, that they would have to cut everyone off for them to cut one person off. That's what I'm trying to say. I like this idea of creating a network inside a game engine for this, because a game engine runs on PS1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It runs on Xbox. It runs on Apple TV. It runs on every mobile phone. It runs in the browser. It runs on Windows. It runs on Macintosh. And I've spent the last 6-8 weeks learning how to push a button that publishes the same space, the same app onto all those platforms universally. It's been a lot of work for me. It's something I used to do as a living. It's just been rusty as all. I've had to relearn some things, and it's been great. Its progress has been going pretty good. And the first of that is I'd like you to eventually imagine that we would have a full Zoom clone. I'm talking about the app you're using right now,
is also doing peer-to-peer video, that all of our videos are actually routing directly to our peer, but they're actually going through Zoom central server because Zoom wants that information. And that even an app such as this is something that we could build inside this 3D environment. Most of the time you would never know it's a 3D environment platform. All this is because in my live streams, I've been wanting to have a better way of communicating space and time to people when events happen. For example, for whatever reason, between 1905 and 1915 or 1917, just the most colossal things happened in our scientific history, in our educational system, in our medical system, just across the board, just so many things. And none of us share a mind palace to really get a look at all these things. We don't have a shared psychic space. We talk to each other and then we imagine what the other person's saying. In my live streams, I've always wanted to have a better spatial way of animizing timelines. And what I mean by that is that I want people to know how long ago the Egyptian culture was. And I want them to know how much has happened just since 1953, that just in these few short decades, thousands and thousands of years has been, you could say, skipped over in a short 30-year period, that kind of thing. But we don't truly know this because we're spoon-fed from class to class to class, and there's no central way to put it together. This is very similar to your medical records, that you, the patient, have such little say over who keeps your medical records and where they are, that the same thing would happen with your education. And that it'd be sweet as fuck if there was an app that could somehow apply every single thing that you've learned all the time as you grow. And part of that would be perfect in a 3D space. In that space, let me see, I'm gonna share timeliner. This is very, very rough. In fact, it's so rough, I don't know why I'm not seeing the landscape. Let me make sure that that is the case. Are you guys seeing something? Okay, great. So there's no audio. This is so rough right now. It's so rough. Everything's broken, all right? It's just in the middle. But this is an example of the timeliner, that we are now in ancient Egypt, and that as I'm hitting the space bar on my keyboard, we are advancing to different timelines, and that the timeline is going to have different information on it based on what is presented. For example, in 1300 BC, this is a presentation on white slavery, by the way. And if imagine that I'm doing a live stream and I'm explaining to everybody, guys, white people were slaves too. Stop falling for the bullshit. That this will be a perfect timeline for that. And that I would show you through history how there's always been slavery, and that slavery built Rome, it built Greece, it built the Great Wall of China, it literally built everything. And that the app that you're looking at right now, this timeliner tool, is, believe it or not, animism, because it's allowing you to have a spatial representation between events as they happened through history. And that this tool allows you to go forwards or backwards on that timeline. But more importantly, it's fully editable, that you as the user, by clicking on an obelisk, this is so rough, please, this is not what it's supposed to look like, this is so rough, would be taken into an interactive editor where you could create more timeline spots, or where you could delete more timeline spots, where you could say Cato was a goofball. And that just that simple, that slide is now showcasing you and allowing you to create this presentation in this three-dimensional space. But that's just kind of like the basic starter, because let's say that I wanted to add a video to this. So I could go back to the app. I've just copied a YouTube link here, and I'm going to, for Cato, I'm going to put that YouTube link in here. And I'm going to get rid of this front slide. I'm sorry, this is so rough right now. And then I'm going to hit save. And now when you approach Cato, you're now watching a YouTube video.
Muslims on every continent gather
And
for Eid
that
al-Adha
YouTube
prayers,
video
but with major
was queued up
differences.
only for
Facing
that,
one direction.
that timeline. Like whichever place you were in, it's going to showcase that video only when you get there. And so, but because it's a 3D environment, there's so many more things that we can do. For example, when we get to Hebrew slaves, we could say, why don't we make it rain frogs? So we can like, I swear you don't have to type all this. This is just right now, but Rainmaker. So I'm calling a 3D program that's just saying, hey, I want it to rain frogs, but only when I'm on that timeline. And so now when you come to Hebrew slaves, you have the power of a 3D engine that's able to showcase and animate what's happening. And I really hope you guys are understanding what I'm saying, that this is animism, that the ability to animate the learning is how you emphasize and teach what's happening. That a child being able to create an environment, even as crude as this, is actually how that child's able to paint in their mind palace history, to paint things that they've learned about, to paint things that they know. And that having a tool like this that they could come back to and reference and build on would be something that could carry with them through their education, basically as they get old. When I say get old, what I mean is I'd like you to imagine that you've been in college or you've been using these timelines the whole time, and you now go to your timeline history and you say, I want to look up gold. And by simply entering a keyword, every single timeline that you've ever built, every single timeline you've ever been sent could show you only the keywords that dealt with gold, or could show you only the slides that occurred between a certain period of time, or that you could match timelines together and say, I would like to see a map of the solar minimum timeline, and I'd like to place that up against the sea level rises from NASA. And that by showcasing those two timelines side by side, you would see that, well, isn't it weird that as soon as the National Science Foundation put out the budget for $7 billion for climate research, that 3 years later, that is when all the climate research came in. That just having those simple things in an animistic way on a plane, in a atmosphere, would allow you to spatially understand things as they've happened. Instead of it being regurgitated, it's something that you've experienced. And that all of these timelines would be things that you have built yourself as part of your learning process. And that even though right now you're just seeing like one example, here's an example where I'm actually showing a YouTube video in the background, but on the foreground, I'm using an image. And that the two of these things work really well together to create some interesting effects. That this tool can read PDF files, that it can read PowerPoint presentations, that it could turn those things into these kind of three-dimensional timelines instantly. And the reason why I like this idea is because I would love for Dojo Earth to be a leader in this Aquarian model for learning. And I'm under the impression that a tool like this is kind of fucking perfect, because the child himself, I think, would actually build their timeline, I think, a lot more creatively than a teacher would. That it'd be more about just getting them to look at themselves and to see what kind of timelines they could build. And right now, this is so rough, but if you could please imagine how much fun it would be for other homeschoolers to come into your timeline and to turn it into a paintball war. Like you were now having a battle, right? A first-person shooter battle on the history of Greece and and all the things that are around it. That as they're playing in that environment, that the animism, that the power of that learning is being re-emphasized even more as a direct result of that. And that on this timeline at the very end that you saw at the platform, there's a Sphinx. Maybe that's where there's a beautiful quiz or a challenge, right? Where you get to ask a child, did you know this, or did you do this, or how does this work, or whatever. And that you could unlock that and go into a secret door behind that. You know, it's the possibilities are endless. I say endless because I would love for that world to be something that older kids are actually developing. That the Unity game engine itself, being an open source 3D game engine, is the perfect environment for a child to learn software, to learn code, to learn how shit works. And that if they were to see that not only is this a learning tool, but the fucking tool itself is a project that's being built by kids, that although right now it only rains frogs, acorns, and tricycles, that this time next year it could rain a million different products, a million different objects, and you or me had nothing to do with that. That these were kids that understood Unity, knew how it worked, saw how the assets were set up, and started to add their own props into this world. And that once those props start to build, the learning environment itself begins to take on a life of its own, so much so to where I don't even know if we'd be able to keep up with them at that point. That you're simply watching the child create their own space, create their own kind of learning environment like that. And it could even be shared the entire time. Right now, none of this is shared. I'm just showing you the timeline. It's just like a PowerPoint kind of mixed in with Pinterest, kind of mixed in with like Second Life or something. But it could be so much more. It could be so much more. Additionally, all of that could be that television network. This, when I say television, I'm talking about this YouTube type streaming network that we've been playing around with, that all of that would still fit inside that app. It's about all I have to show you right now on it. I want you to know it's a little bit bigger than what it looks like, that this is just what I could gather to kind of get this done. I have a lot more work to do, a lot of just tedious stuff, like I want to click a button and you could pick an image on your computer. That actually is hard because you have to do it on 6 different platforms. There's just a lot of little stuff like that. I'm going to be busy for a little bit on this, but I want the timeliner to come out first because I want this to be shareable. This sounds more about me, but I just want you to know what this app can do. When I did a live stream yesterday and I talked a little bit about like NASA, and I would have preferred to have said, here's my presentation on NASA as I'm sliding through the timeline. You can go look at that timeline yourself. Here's a link. And they could come there, add their own slides to it, take those slides, put it in their own timeline, things like that. So it's kind of a whole, anyway, there's a lot, but that's my show and tell for now. And that's what I've been doing. Yeah, so I'm done. Thanks for listening.
Yes, thank you. That was amazing. I absolutely love it. Can you guys hear me okay? Yes? Okay. Sorry, I got the 2 devices here going on because I know my phone will not cut out or anything. I love how the kids can build it themselves. My son is just at that point where if I try to help him with it, I cannot help. I cannot help. I just have to let him do it. And when he wants help, when he comes to me for help, then okay. But I really see him having fun building it himself, learning it himself, he doesn't want help. And I think it's so cool that it's like a little world he can go and play in. I feel like it's something that he will enjoy and have fun with. And it's like somewhere he can put all of the things that he's learned into an actual visual space. I think it's beautiful. I think he will like really enjoy utilizing it. That's the biggest thing that really pops out for me, is that the kids can build their own. That's just super important. Victoria, unmute yourself, dear.
You can call me Lynette, Anna. It's okay. It's old. Don't put me in that, because then I'm going to go into that alter ego place.
I go back and forth with Lynette and Victoria. I don't know why I keep calling you that. I'm sorry, love.
It's all right.
Okay.
It's all right. I was going to say, I have a couple thoughts. With the ability to anyone go into these spaces and put things into the timeline, I immediately go, and there's a lot that you discussed because you're a magician with words that I don't understand, but that's okay. I follow as much as I can. But what sticks out to me is I think of like Wikipedia, right? The misinformation that gets put into those spaces, and they're uneditable, right? So things get put into yours that you can't remove. So it's like, what's going to prevent someone, or is there something set up to prevent someone coming in and putting misinformation, or do we want, like, would that misinformation work as a tool?
I think
still?
that you'll find that these worlds will cross over only because both people have consented to share worlds with each other. In other words,
Okay.
very much like a friends network would work in that way. And I haven't even talked about this, Lynette, because it's just too technical. But
Right.
I want there to be, I want inside this tool, it would be so badass if you could type in vaccines and all the Wikipedia entries would actually show up. And if there's something that interests you, you could pull it out on your timeline. And I haven't even addressed the fact of whether or not it's true. That to me, the underlying beauty of this app is that we get to incorporate skepticism for the very first time into this information, that we get to somehow, I don't know what this is going to look like yet. I think it'll probably be our own Wikipedia, honestly, a truthopedia, like, just, it's not even more truth. It's more of just like researchopedia, because it's not like we have the truth. We don't.
Right.
We just have calories to spend on research. And so I would love it if this thing could turn into something like that, where you're curating editors that you have respect for, very much like you would go to a college and pick different courses that you find interesting. You would pick different editors or curators that have built timelines that interest you. And maybe when a new timeline is produced, is released, it's much like a video. It's sort of like a premiere, and you would show up in that 3D landscape for that premiere and maybe watch it. I don't know how it's all brand new. Right now, I just want to get it where these things are shareable. Right now, I just want to just present it as, here's a 3D PowerPoint tool that I think is pretty cool. Like, because I think at the very, very basic point, it's that. And if I can just make it that and polish it, then I can build the next step and the next step and the next step and the next step.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I think, it's definitely going to resonate with the young people. My son loves like CodeSpark and things like that, where he can go in and create these worlds. And what I think is really cool about this is it also gives us as parents, for people that are in states where you have to show what your child learned, right? You have to have that documentation. I think this really is going to serve well to those people to document, especially with unschooling. It's a hard thing to document if you have to show that, so I think it's super cool. And thank you for all your hard work. I was getting worried about you. I didn't know where you've been all this time, but now I see. So great stuff. Thanks for all that you do.
Oh, thanks. It's really exciting to work on it. It's my own passion too, just watching it being built and imagining all the possibilities. I could see a lot of homeschool kids build timelines as part of their unschooling, or whatever you want to call it. Like, that maybe kids would start to say, yeah, I want to build a timeline and show you the history of cotton. Like, that'd be so awesome. Right. And they could show you that, and there you go. And that, it's the Aquarian model. That's kind of where, like, if you think about it, this is where it would be, right? It would kind of almost have to be that way. People aren't in school anymore. They're separate. They're remote. This is kind of, I don't know. It's like preordained, sadly. It's kind of weird, actually.
I could also see the kids bringing their timelines to our quarter moon and sharing their timelines with each other also. I could see that happening.
Yeah, we could even, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be great, actually. A lot of ideas on that.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely amazing. And it's just another way to get the kids involved, which, I'm really looking forward to getting Dax more involved in this. He always wants to know what I'm doing, right? So, and like the book readings that I've been recording, he listens to, and like he knows that like I have this dojo thing going on, and like when I talk to him about some of the activities that we're gonna do and stuff like that, so he hears about it. And he was really like, he just really liked the idea of coming to share a story with other kids instead of like a show and tell. You know what I mean? Because his mind is still a lot in that system, um, from the public school system, of the robotic of show and tell or things like that. So when I told him he could just get on there and just share a story of whatever he wanted, he really loved that. And the fact that he can, you know, he can get on that app and just do whatever it is that he wants to do with it and build whatever it is that that it is totally the Aquarian way. I love it. I love it. Now I am going to ask you guys about the quarter moon kids Zoom. What do you got? Do you guys like that idea? Is that something that your kids would enjoy to get in on? I know that Logan is so excited for that, something like that. And he always loves to get on. When we did our first book reading, Logan showed his story and he was telling me about the story. So we had a lot of fun with that, but it was just me and Amanda and Logan and Dax. So I really want to know if like that's something that you guys would think your kids would enjoy. If we did that like once a month for the kids to join in. Go ahead and just unmute as you guys, if you guys want to chime in.
Yeah, I think for us, I know my son will love it. You know, he also he's all over the place, but he would love to share stories and share what he's working on or different things like that. I think he actually asked me today, he said, oh, you're doing that dojo thing. Is today the day that I get to come on and share? So he's never done these Zoom type things or any of those, that type of learning. You know, I don't do a lot of the book readings or things that are done virtually. That's all pretty foreign to him. So he's pretty excited about this idea of meeting kids. You know, I've told him there's like kids from different places, you know, in the world, and we can all get together and we can hear, you know, what they're doing. And he's pretty excited about it. So it's definitely resonates with us. My little one, who knows, she'll probably pop in and out, you know, she's so all over the place, but I love it. And I can't wait. And I think it's going to be good to get our kids all connected and involved. So I like it.
Awesome.
I wanted to share your, I don't know what to call it. What you presented, James, made me think about the Celestine prophecy. I don't know if you guys have read that book, but it's got the insights. And so the second insight, I was trying to find it in the book, but I found like a little synopsis online. Basically, the second so it's got 12 insights altogether. If you haven't read the book, it's a good book. And the second insight is through psychospiritual historical reflection, we can live in a longer now and see through our historical, cultural, and consciousness fixations. And that's just someone's kind of summary of it. I was trying to find in the book if it had like a very specific description of it, but basically it made me think of what you were doing, James, that it's like when we expand our, you know, when we animate history in a way, in that kind of a way, it's I don't know, it's just part of this process of whatever this process is. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I have not read that book. You guys have so many book recommendations and people that I am learning about. I love it. I absolutely agree that really having it come to life will, it will just, it's a totally different environment for the kids, and it's totally different way, because you know, he can watch documentaries, we can read stories. Like right now we're reading a story about the Pilgrims, and it's like this animated book where like this guy goes back in time, and we could read that book over and over but him to actually build that timeline and interact with it himself, it's like just totally two different sides of doing it, you know? It definitely it brings it to life, and it just puts you in that moment. So I really think it's going to be great. I think it's something that's going to be enthusiastically utilized too. You know, it's not like an educational tool where I'm like, you have to do this. You know, it's something that they'll have fun doing within the freedom of their own learning is the biggest thing. That, you know, we've really been trying to focus on is just letting them learn in their own way. And this totally it just harnesses all of it. So I really love it. I think it's perfect. Does anybody else?
Yeah. Hi, Anna. Just regarding your question. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I really appreciate you and Lynette and Amanda taking leads on this and coming up with ideas. I'm, you know, I coming at this from different angles. Like, you know, one angle I'm looking at like how can I use this to benefit my daughter and help my wife with the homeschooling, and how is this going to be, you know, beneficial to us, and I'm also coming at it from, well, how can I contribute to the dojo, to the tribe? What can I do to bring what can I bring to this? So definitely from a Zoom meeting with all of us, I've said this before, and trying to war game and how it would go down. My daughter has calls, Facebook Messenger with my parents every week, and I tried, we were trying to get her to, okay, you read this book this week, kind of explain what's going on. She's 5, and I'd hope she'd give a little more, explanation, details of the story she read. She ends up wanting to play with all the features of Facebook Messenger. If you've ever played around with that, there's a lot of background apps. You can put like cats in space flying around in the background. And so she ends up playing with the toys and all that. She loves doing that. And it's like trying to get her to do something with the story. I'm just kind of wondering how she would deal with this, with the Zoom call and trying to share at where she's at right now. So definitely, I think you guys should just proceed with what you're doing. It's a great idea. I know we're working our way through this, figuring out what works. I'm kind of, okay, well, here's I ran through some ideas. I'm always thinking about this at night. What can I bring to this homeschool? And I'm mostly, I think, kind of saying, well, whatever I come up with, I'm just kind of waiting to see how this evolves. Like, what is James going to bring forward? I knew he was working on something, and like, wow, what he just showed us right now, that's kind of something that I wish, I used to be a big, I'd love to thumb through the World Book encyclopedias, all the pictures just inspired me. That was just the cool thing. You had this whole volume of encyclopedias and you just wanted to flip through what had the coolest picture, what was interesting going through that and learning about what you want to learn about. That was true for me as a kid, and it's true for me now as an adult. It's just like, I don't want to study what work wants me to study. I want to study what I want to study. So that's just much more interesting to me, whatever pops in my head, wherever my research or wherever I'm interested in at the moment goes. So what James what presented right there was amazing, like a 3D online encyclopedia where, with the timelines, I'm not even grasping the whole thing, what he was trying to get at. But I definitely resonate with what Lynette said about, we're in this new paradigm of, I'm still stuck in this world, what I was taught in school, and, all this stuff's real, dinosaurs and space and all that. And now we're in this new world of we're not sure anymore. I'm at the point where I don't know what to believe, what's real. So the question of what's a verified source, if we're gonna, do this, Wikipedia, we know there's fake stuff in there, but there's also truth in there. So there's just so much out there that's truth, that is a factual, or what we believe, but then there's all this other stuff too that kind of distorts our vision of what's reality and not what isn't. And so this, a lot of what James just presented, it's like, well, that's cool for me. I want to, I love hearing James's takes on history and just trying to come to a re-understanding, unlearning of everything that I've been taught, and coming at this from a different approach. So I definitely think there's an angle of this homeschool where, we talked about the parenting, parents need help. We need help with the homeschool, how to teach our kids. We need help. We need help on learning. We need to know, if I come across and tell everybody about NASA or what I do or what I've learned, it's just kind of, I feel like, it's, I don't know, that's like in the different direction than what we're wanting to go with this thing. So I'm like, I have a lot of unlearning to do. I got a lot, what would I bring that would be contributing to the direction of this Aquarian age that we're all headed in, but coming with a start, just, let's do something. We're going to get the kids together and tell some stories, have them describe a story or something. I love the idea. I'm just not sure how my daughter's going to react. She's going to be fidgeting or running away. She was doing a gymnastics class online to Zoom, and that was even had a hard time keeping her attention. She just things that will keep their attention and focus. I'm just trying to figure out in my head how she would react to all this. But you guys just keep doing what you're doing, and I will definitely be approaching my wife with all this. And if something gets scheduled for the next full moon, I will definitely try to get my daughter to, hey, come in and see what it's all about, and get my wife on board as well. But just you guys are just awesome. I just love the direction this is going. So I'm just basically trying to say I'm still trying to figure out my part. Now I'm going to contribute to all this because I think I have something to offer. I'm just I was hoping I'd see which direction it's going and then kind of jump in with something. So I'll stop right there.
I'd like to add, if I can, I'm sorry to interrupt, but guys, I think that part of the Aquarian age, I was taught in a world where you're supposed to pretend that what you were told is true. That I was brought up in that world where I'm supposed to pretend that anything that was told to me over and over again was true because I remember. Memorization means truth. That's what I was taught. And what I'm trying to say is that I think we could develop a curriculum that's so simple. I'm using the word curriculum here. It's so simple because the curriculum is this. We are not here to teach our kids what is true and what is not. You're not. There's no way we will ever be able to do that. And we're not going to pretend. We're not to suggest we could. We're never, ever, ever going to teach them the idea that this person knows what's true and what isn't. That from day one, the Aquarian model is discernment. That's all it is discernment. And there's not even a right or wrong discernment. There are levels of discernment. It's true. Just like there are levels of compassion, there are levels of discernment. And that it's true for you to say something, even though you might find out later that it's not, that your discernment went deeper and you found out that now it's not. And so if we embrace this idea, we realize that truth itself is kind of a misnomer. It's a geometrical hypothetical. It truly is. And that what we're really functioning in is a world of majority rule, where people decide what's true because so many of them have guns, where so many of them have needles, where so many of them have credentials. That's really what truth is. And so the Aquarian model is one of these things is a lie, probably 3 or 4. Like, how cool would it be if this was a game about discernment? If we were finding exercises that are teaching discernment, right? Like, out of all the dinosaurs that you've been told, which one do you think is absolutely probably a lie, and why? And why? Well, Stegosaurus has a brain in his butt. I think that's probably bullshit. And then you look it up and you start to realize, yeah, that is bullshit. But when I was a kid, they told me he had a brain in his butt. And I believe that. I believe that because I memorized it, right? What I'm getting at is the model we're trying to teach our kids is very simple. It's so simple. It's, you don't know what's true. And even if you did, it would only be your truth. That's all it would be. That you were here to learn how to discern. That's all. And that was a very simple curriculum to teach, right? It's very, very simple. I think that's why the technology of belief is much more applied, because it's more about what you believe is really going to dictate how the world works, where the wind comes from, stuff like that. So I want us to keep talking about this stuff, because I really think that we can develop something really clear and just really conveys how to go forward from here. So thank you all for this. Mark, you're already helping. What you just said really, really helps a lot. That's all I got. Thanks.
I'd love
Yes,
to add.
100%. I'm going to say real quick, Mark, what you being here and you offering your witness and what you just shared, that is like what you bring for us. And really, I think if she were to come and hang out for the Quarter Moon Kids, I guarantee you every single kid is going to be running all over the place, not paying attention half the time, only if they're interested, all over the room. And I think that's going to be the fun of it. Just letting them interact and play and share and talk and do their thing. And if she wants to play with silly faces, then I think it would be fun to just let them do their thing and let them play. Sorry, Danny, go for it. And then we have Lynette, and then we have Johnny B.
Sure. I was just going to add with the notion of discernment. And in my experience, I feel like that's actually a natural tendency, or a natural, I don't know what to call it, disposition, is this ability to discern. And it's almost like I'll just speak for myself, but it could be applied towards kids. It's like when you just allow the information to be received and you don't resist the information as a whole, your mind complex, whatever, will offer to you a coherency of that information. So just saying, to try to say it another way, is like all this information is coming in through time, and our minds are wired in such a way to create a coherency of that information. And I just think there's a beauty there, that it's really just this, it's an allowing and it's not resisting. I think a lot of times we teach kids to resist information because our culture resists a lot of information. And so it's just more about, it's just about providing and allowing that information to flow. And then the brain, just like the digestive system, and they both are, wound up and squiggly in the way that they are anatomically, exist. It's like they're digesting, our brains are digesting, our small intestine is digesting. And so you just provide the information and it's going to get digested, it's going to get integrated. And yes, there's a practice, and yes, you can get better at discernment, but I do feel that it's a natural tendency that can be nurtured and allowed in children. So I think I wanted to just put that out there, that it's not, like, this is inherent when it's allowed. I think that's all I was trying to say.
Yes, I really, really agree with what you said. And I really, really see that in my son as well, because with everything going on around him in the world, he has his own spirit that tells him it doesn't make, like, this is not right. We all have that, I think, in us already. Like, we're going to say when we feel like something, well, that doesn't sound right. But, and like, if we allow them to come up with their own truth, the truth that they decide for themselves, I guess, through the information, if we allow them to explore everybody's point of view and everything like that and soak it up without imposing our beliefs on them, then they have that free will to use their own discernment and to get better at using it. You know what I mean? Because the more that they're allowed to sort through the information on their own, the better I see my son getting at it, because he has a lot of different ideas and beliefs than I do. And I think if we allow them to be their own person in their own beliefs and, you know, in their own cockpit, they use their own discernment at a much higher level than they would if we were to try to say that this is the way it is, right? They have to choose what way it is for them. So I totally agree, you know, it's something that just comes. Lynette and then Johnny, we're getting there. I'm muting.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's funny where I am in my life now. I've never been more grateful for the fact that I know very little, you know, like I didn't take school serious and I never wanted to learn. And I never I know very little, and it's lending myself so well to my role now because it's easier to learn or to take information in when I don't have these concrete ideas of what things were. So I've never been more grateful for being quote unquote stupid, right? Like now I'm like, I am so glad that I didn't pay attention all those years and that that I'm in this position that I'm in now. But I want to say one thing within our family. My role as a teacher parent is to build up my son's gut intelligence, right? That's my role. So I don't ever lay out my ideas. And when he comes at me with ideas, I always pose questions. But my role in his life is just to build his gut intelligence. It's nothing else other than that, you know? It's not for me to impose my beliefs or my ideas. It's just listen to him and build that gut intelligence. And I think that's kind of what we're all kind of talking about too. So that's about it.
Johnny B, how are you? I'm glad you're here. You want to unmute?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good. All right. Yeah, I love this chat we're having. I have, just to give you guys, I think it's the first time I'm joining you guys here in the homeschooling. I think I listened into one. I have an 8-year-old boy. We're homeschooling him. My wife is following him kind of on a sort of a curriculum, but we're just choosing what to teach him. My model is more unschool and just let him see what he wants to do. And few things I want to say. The first thing I want to actually address the Mark, and James touched upon it, and some I think Danny too. It's all about discernment, and you have skills with NASA, and I know, like I just got into the flat Earth a year ago, so I probably, if I found out about you, a year and a half ago, I think you're the coolest shit and you know so much about NASA and everything. But like, don't dismiss it. I think there is, they do. I'm more fascinated about how they can possibly make some of the calculations line up with a flat Earth and a round Earth model, and that kind of stuff. And I don't plan on sitting down with my son and telling him the Earth is flat. I mean, the conversation came up a few times, what I think, because he overhears, adults speaking. But I tell him, well, what do you think it is? And right now his theory is it's a cookie because it's mostly flat with some raised parts like hills. And that's fine. And I said, well, we'll work with that. And when you find out more, then, go with that. I know I've shown him, I put up a camera along the beach once, and I had him look through the camera, and I didn't go through the mathematical equations, but it's just letting him discern. But mostly like at night when you look at the moon, I tell him just things like, well, if it's a rock, why is it so shiny? Have you ever seen a rock that shines? No? Okay. So then I kind of, a bit, I want him to figure out what he's on, because I don't know 100%. I haven't been to the moon. I haven't been to Antarctica. I just know a lot of the things I was taught don't add up with what I'm actually observing now. But it's all about teaching them how to think for themselves. And that's what I'm trying to do. And in terms of like, for the homeschooling, do you guys envision having courses with certain subjects, especially for older kids? It's just an open question. Is it going to be more for elementary, or what do you do when kids get older? Like, are you going to have courses, specific teachers?
I know because we're, sorry to interrupt you, Johnny, because we do the
No worries.
unschooling approach, myself personally, like we'll never do those courses. Like those courses will come in naturally within your child's interest. So perhaps maybe though we could do shares when our children are interested in certain things, but I don't know how that would, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's people, we all have different approaches, right? But my personal one, because I'm an unschooler through time, I don't see necessarily a curriculum, like a set project or a learning, I can't think of the words, but it's so natural of a flow, right? But maybe sharing when we're learning about certain things, maybe we could share, or someone else that does more of a curriculum base or wants to build their own curriculum, maybe they'll share that.
Sorry, it's getting windy here. But yeah, no, what I'm getting at is I have some skills. I'm sure every one of us have skills with certain topics. So like right now, because I got the acreage, summer, springtime, I'm going to be so busy, but I'm kind of planning ahead for the fall and winter. I plan on offering up, if anybody wants older kids, I plan on teaching my kid. I'm a 3D designer by trade. So I've done it for over 20 years using the top software, SolidWorks. So it kind of plays into what James is developing, because if you want to have a 3D environment, you can either grab templates of 3D objects, or if someone's more creative, they can create it from scratch with geometric shapes and measurements. And my son's 8, but I'm gonna, when he gets older, I'm gonna try to teach him those skills. And if he takes to it, great. But I think it would be good if you guys have any children that are a bit older and they wanna, if they're interested in 3D designing, drawing shapes and stuff, more mechanical and not artistic. There's 2 different styles. And I also got into 3D printing, which is just so fascinating. I got myself a 3D printer. And my son was all over that because he wanted me to draw his favorite cartoon or game character in 3D and then print it. And then it's just so fascinating to him to see it being built from scratch. And I think this is where we have to steer our kids, just creativity, and let them figure out what they love, their passion. But thanks, guys.
Oh, I was already unmuted. Yeah, I've kind of been going back and forth about the actual like curriculum, because when this first started, I was going to I was like writing some lessons about learning.
I think you're muted.
Hear you.
Anna, you there?
Hey, am I still here?
You're here. Okay, now you're back, but we
Okay.
lost you.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. All at one time, my computer logged out of the Zoom, and then I got a phone call on my phone. Okay. What was I saying? Oh, okay. So the curriculum that I was writing has kind of morphed into more of just a game that we've been playing. My son is 9, so he's right there at the same age as your son, Johnny. And he has much more enjoyed the game of learning the belt than he has the actual curriculum that I was trying to create. And a lot of, I think as they get older into teenagers, like they're gonna know what they want to study, especially when we give them that freedom to explore naturally. They find what they want to do. They find what they want to learn. And I feel like they changed so much. And even me personally, I have changed my interests too. And when they're honing in on something, I just feel like as Dax gets older and as his studies get more more dynamic, I guess I should say, he is going to find his own way and he's going to do his own studies. And I feel like the biggest thing is to give them the tools, right? Like we teach them to read and write, and as the math skills come along in life, they learn the math skills as they come in life. And as long as we give them, it's almost like, a tool in their tool belt as they're walking off to work to go use those tools on their own, I guess. And that's a really big shift that me personally, I've been making. Like in 6 months, I went from workbooks 2 to 3 hours a day to letting him freely explore as he wants to. And I'm telling you, he has done so much more than we have done in the workbooks. So he has learned so much more. Like right now, he got into the cooking and we made that fried chicken. And he loved that fried chicken so much. He is he's drawing these blueprints to make a stand outside so that he can sell his fried chicken. And like he's got because I am going to start my plant stand this summer. So he wants to sell fried chicken. All right, so let's do it. So he's like writing blueprints out and writing down the measurements and everything so that he can bring them to his dad. And I'm getting him lumber so they can build this. And he's using the math and he's writing everything down for his dad so he doesn't have to explain it, because you men like 3 words and done, right? So he's preparing it and he's just so serious about it. And I feel, I just have confidence in him that he will find his own way. So when he becomes that teenager, he'll already know what he wants to do. So that's I guess what I have. I got to check the participants real quick. Lynette, your hand up, and James, true.
I was just gonna say, oh, see now, then you forget like what you're gonna say when it's finally your turn. You're like, oh gosh. I was gonna go back to Mark really quick with the attention span of our kids, right? I think there's a lot of studies that say it's 1 minute per year that they are old. So just try to keep that in mind with the jumping around. And, I know it tests our patience and our, it's hard for us to wrap our head around, like, why can't they just sit for a longer period of time? If she's 5, it's a 5-minute attention span for how long she can focus on one particular subject. And then the other thing I was going to say, Anna, with what you're doing with your son and him building that, his blueprints and building that chicken stand, that right there, to me, that's a course, right? So as we go back to like, is there going to be a curriculum that we can refer to when our kids are older? I think that is the curriculum, right? That is the course. And I think that's what's hard for me is like documenting that, because it becomes just your life and what you do. But I think that is like so much that our kids can benefit from. Like when you are an unschooler, you go, okay, well today at this moment, we're into building this chicken stand. So we do our research, we're watching, we go on YouTube, we see, okay, this is how you build a chicken coop or a chicken stand, whatever, or else it just comes from them naturally. But it's recording that through in some way to share that, because I think that's the course. And that's where I see us taking our learning, it's more of that naturally, what are we into today? And where are we going to get that information from? So I think it's us filming that and documenting it and sharing for other people, because I think more and more people are going to start taking that same approach. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Lynette. That's what I've been trying to do with the recording, because I do have to, I have to get an approved review by the state. And just as unschooling kind of goes with the flow, I have found through my research that I personally just need to find the right teacher that flows with our learning. That's it. I just need to find the teacher that flows with us. And I've been going through a lot of different ways of recording things, but what I've been doing recently is just at the end of the day, I go to my calendar and I write down what we did. If we didn't do like, or if all we did was play outside, I just write outdoor, you know? Or like yesterday we went on an adventure, so I wrote down where we went. And then that's all I've been doing is each day I write down what we did and then take pictures. That's all I've been doing to record what we've been doing, is just writing down what we did for the day. And every single day has been filled out with something. Every weekend day, every day has been a school day, right? And after we're all done with our recording and our things, and I can say, okay, mom's done for the summer, I'm just gonna go back and mark things as if they were in a subject. So I'm kind of just documenting each day in a very short little blurb. And then I'm gonna go back and say, yesterday we went to the very first grave site for the town of Freeport, and there was a bunch of people from the Revolutionary War there. So we had all kinds of discussions about that, and we learned dates. So I could put 3 different subjects as far as school goes on that one day. So that's all I'm going to do with getting the subjects, I guess.
You know what, though? I think that's it. It's like when you watch your children play, you go, what is my child learning, right? And you can break that down to almost every subject that they have to take in a day with one play session that they're doing. And I think that's it. I think it's photographing and documenting and asking yourself that question, or even us as a collective, what's my child learning when they do this? You know, because sometimes we don't even see what they're learning, but maybe as a collective, someone else can see. For those that have to document, you know, I think that's a good tool. And even myself, being in Nebraska, there's no documentation that we have to do, but I still photograph everything and look at it every day of, you know, what did they learn when they were doing this? And I think you're doing awesome.
Thank you. And you have really inspired me to just let that go. And like you said, the subjects are already there. And a lot of us as homeschoolers, we do have to document, because we do still have to do the compulsory law abiding, I suppose you would call it. I don't even, my question is like, well, okay, what would happen if I just tell you no? I always want to know. That's me. I just want to go in there and like, I just want to find out what happens if I don't do it. But that's just me. James,
you real quick, sorry. Do you have a group that you like something you had to join that's like lawyers that represent you as a homeschooler? Because I know here, like that's something we bought into. So like if we were ever, you know, called into question, you do have lawyers that represent you. Is that something that they do in your state? Like if you chose not to document in their way or comply, is there some sort of?
I have no idea.
Okay, you might want to look into that, because I know here we have like a law firm that protects homeschooling families. And I believe I'll even share it with you, because I think it might be you know, not just a state thing. I think it might be a bigger, you know, state to state kind of thing. So I'll send that to you, because that might be helpful. I know it's something we immediately joined. You know, you don't want to be called into question and ever have your kids taken away or whatever, you know, they scare us with, but I'll share it.
Right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just figured I would, you know, the rules and the laws really aren't that hard to follow. So I was just going to follow along. But that would be interesting to find out what happens if I don't follow your laws and how would I go about that. But thank you. That's definitely something I probably should do. Is just to get connected with somebody like that. But I also don't trust lawyers because they're like professional liars. I'm skeptic, you know what I mean? Like they just want my money. That's my first thought. Like, you're a liar. You just want my money. But it's really good to have that on your side for sure when you're dealing with Babylon. James, true. I'm sorry, dear. You had your hand up for a while. Did you still want to speak?
No, I can wait till next time. I just thanks to everyone for being here, and I really appreciate the feedback, and really glad that we're together. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you came today. I am so glad that you showcased that for us. I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, I can't wait to show you guys more. I seriously, I'm gonna help my aunt put her bed together, and then I'm gonna get back to work. And I've been looking forward to it all morning. I've been like, yeah, I want to get to work today. It's gonna be great. So yeah, good stuff. Good times.
It's 2 p.m. on Friday. I would suggest to you, Mr. James, that you help your aunt with her bed and fucking relax for the day.
You don't understand how much fun it is, though, to be creative. Like, you know, I know you understand, but when you're in the pocket, you're in the pocket, you know? I freaking just love what I'm doing right now. Seriously. I get selfish because I don't have enough time. What was that?
Stay in the pocket, but do it outside.
Yeah, there you go. I'll see what I can work out. I could probably use more sun, that's for sure. But now it's getting warm, so I just open the windows and just work that way anyway. So anyway, thanks for being here, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all so much for coming. It was a great meeting today, and I am going to set dates for our three gatherings for April, and I'm going to post them, and I always want to hear what everybody thinks.
All right. It's also a lunar eclipse on April's full moon. So should be something fun.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, you guys.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Anna.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye, guys. Yep. Take care, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks, everybody.